How's it going? This is Lon Phillips Sullivan with LSUODYSSEY.COM. This is LSUODYSSEY.COM's Oddcast Volume 8. And we're going to do a real quick dissection of the Julian Armella. Or it could be Armaya. But it's not Armella, I know that for sure. The Julian Armella story. Where will this brilliant offensive lineman out of St. Thomas Aquinas, teammates of Marlon Martinez and Marcus Dumervil, both 2020 LSU freshmen, where will Armella go? He just had his official visit with LSU this last weekend. Having a great time. Met Coach O for the first time. Here's the thing. Coach Ed Orgeron tried to grab his father, Enzo, back in the day. I believe when he was at Miami. And Enzo ended up going to Florida State instead of going with Orgeron to Miami. So there's always been that Florida connection. There's always been those Florida roots with the Armayas. But here's the thing, and you got to give James Craig a little bit of credit here. James Craig started the pipeline into St. Thomas Aquinas, into that Florida school where LSU have now pulled Marcus Dumervil and Marlon Martinez. Martinez at guard, Dumervil at tackle. Both did not play much, if at all, across 2020. I think Martinez got in there for a few reps. But Dumervil, I can't even remember a game where we saw Dumervil. But that's usually as to be expected for freshmen. And here's the thing, their last season did not count for them eligibility-wise, which is a big deal for offensive linemen. Especially when, sometimes you need multiple years to get into that swing of things. It's a whole different position than almost any other position on the football field. It's a position that looks sexy by getting, beaten sometimes. You're never going... defensive linemen can do all these spin moves, can do all these brilliant, awesome, versatile movements along the line. But usually offensive linemen, when they start doing the flashy type of stuff, that's when they get in the most trouble. That's when they give away holding penalties. That's when they let sacks go flying past them. That's when they let guys go blazing through and destroy some running backs. And what you see from St. Thomas Aquinas, the way they've coached Dumervil, the way they've coached Marlon Martinez, and now the way they've coached Armella, I'm really liking the technique. I'm really liking the way that they teach them about pure, just driven work ethic. I love the way that all three guys, more or less, came into LSU ready to play. You can't really say that they were all, Dumervil or Martinez were ready to start, but you can definitely say that those guys were ready to play. They needed to add just a little bit of weight, bulk up a little bit. I get all that. But they worked their asses off throughout that summer. And Tommy Moffitt said that those were the two hardest working freshmen he had ever seen in his time at LSU. Moffitt's been there since 2000. Okay, since the year 2000. Since Y2K was a thing. That's how long Moffitt's been there. So I think he knows work ethic when he sees it. So you go from that pipeline, and who's next? Julian Armella, a guy who Coach O could not grab his father. He could not snag his father over to Miami. Florida State got Enzo Armella back in the day. But do you think Coach O is going to let that slide? Do you think Coach O is going to forget about that? Let that stand? Hell no. Coach O is going to do whatever it takes to seal Julian Armella. He understands the same mistakes, same reasons why he lost Armaia's father, and he usually does not let those mistakes repeat themselves. You can criticize Orgeron for a lot of things. You can say maybe he reveals too much information to the media, whatever. At the same time, you cannot criticize his recovery abilities, his ability to overcome, his ability to flip the damn script. And there's nothing more intangible to the success of a coach than that type of mentality. And we have a coach who has it. We have a coach who's proven to have that. So when you go into this recruitment with Julian Armella, there's certain pitfalls and missteps that perhaps Miami and Coach Orgeron made back in the 90s when they were trying to get Enzo. Or maybe it was in the 80s, I'm not sure. And one of those things could be, it's as simple as people mispronouncing it to Armella when it's actually Armaya. Continuous mispronunciations just show that you're not taking the extra level of care. You don't really care that much to say their name right. Things like that. And when Kelvin Banks Jr. and Cam Dewberry and Will Campbell and all these other guys are on campus, and their names, flow right off the tongue, it can sometimes make people feel a little weird when their name isn't being said right. Make them feel a little like they're not being taken as seriously or enough time is spent on them. That could come into play, although it's a very minor thing. Another minor thing could be, did Enzo approve of Coach O's recruiting from back then? Did Enzo commit and eventually sign with Florida State because of Coach Orgeron's style of recruiting? Is there something that he doesn't like there? I don't know, because Julian, I think he went alone or with a coach or someone like that to LSU HQ, but I did not see a single picture of Enzo and Julian there on LSU's campus. If someone wants to correct me and tell me that Julian went with his father, that's fantastic. I do not have evidence that his father was there at all. That tells me a lot. That tells me that LSU are not the front runner here. It tells me that LSU are just a high-octane option for Armella. So, who are the other options, though? The crystal ball picks are all with Florida State. But I'm going to point to one that you just do not want to hear about. But June 11th, he goes on an official to Alabama. Alabama have a lot of unproven offensive line talent. They've just been stacking that talent. We saw what they did in the 2021 class with J.C. Latham, the Brockermeyer brothers. And then you saw just the continuous stacking of that talent. Well, is Julian Armella going to be a part of that? I'm not so sure. I don't have any indications that he's really hungry to go to Alabama. That can change with one official visit, as we've seen. That can change very quickly. But if there's one thing that people should really know about Julian and what he could decide or might not decide, it's going to be about playing time more than anything else. Development is second, of course, but playing time. Julian wants to play as a freshman. He may not be expecting to start as a freshman. That's quite a tall order anyway. But he is expecting to play as a freshman. Where is he going to find those reps? Is it at Alabama? Good luck. Is it at Florida State? Well, with the lack of talent there at Florida State, I'm sure it would be pretty easy. Is it LSU? Well, there's a lot of competition there. There's a lot of stacked depth, but there's also just enough of a gap where Julian Armella could actually step in there and maybe not start as a freshman, of course, in 2022, but at least receive some high-quality reps and at least get in there for some drives and at least play enough to where you are in an ascending development mode. LSU are, under Coach Brad Davis, our new offensive line coach, we're in a state of flux here, okay? Where it's, what's our identity going to be as an offensive line? Well, this is great because we didn't even have an identity for the last 3 or 4 years. Rivers, Joe. We didn't even have an identity for the last 3 or 4 years as an offensive line. And so now we finally get the right guy to actually do that. I'm excited for Coach Davis. The question is Julian Armella excited for Coach Davis? Well, I'll tell you this. He already has an established relationship with Coach Brad Davis. He, like everybody, likes Coach Davis. And Julian, I think he's going to take his time with this process. I could be shocked. He could commit at any moment right now, of course, just like any of these kids. But I think Julian wants to take his time with this process, although it is one thing to look at. Of course, visits can be scheduled at any time, but he's only scheduled for 2 visits. He's not scheduled to go to Clemson. He's not scheduled to go to Miami. He's not even scheduled to go to Daddy's Florida State. His only 2 visits scheduled that I could see was June 4th, LSU, and June 11th, Alabama. So is Julian Armella's commitment, is his signature, is his future as an offensive line powerhouse, is it just between LSU and Alabama? I'd say Florida State is there as the third option, just because of the ties, the father, influence there. His father is going to have an influence on this decision. I'm telling you that. His father's been involved. But Julian, as much as he kept it close to the vest, he had a great time at LSU. He was really keeping everything close with a Marcus Dumerville and Marlon Martinez. Those 3 were doing a lot of talking, a lot of plotting, a lot of scheming about, hey, this is what we do here, this is how we live here, this is what you do here, and just kind of introducing him to the way of life in Baton Rouge and the sights and the sounds and the food and the environment and the atmosphere. And it just remains to be seen if Julian's going to really be intoxicated by that atmosphere, if he's going to really love it. I think Julian Armella right now, you could say right now, today, I believe Julian Armella will commit to the LSU Tigers. How long that will take, how hard that process could be, if there's a flip that's going to need to be involved, if he's going to commit somewhere and then decommit, if he, this could be a wild ride for Julian Armella's signature, because his stock is only continuing to rise. As people continue to get film on him, continue to see camp footage, Armella's for real. But, this is kind of in that toss-up territory with an LSU lean, with an LSU caveat lean, but at the same time, I feel like it is LSU, Alabama, neck and neck right here for Julian Armella's future. We will have some type of crazy interviews coming up for you soon. We're putting out some more profiles. We just put out a profile on Ty Davis Price that even his own mom loved. put out a profile on Max Johnson. That I really loved writing that one. There's a ton of stuff we just keep putting out and putting out and putting out. Recruiting stuff. We've got something on Kendrick Law coming out. A bunch of information on Sean Murphy. We've been talking to Antoine Sampa and a few people like that. And, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting with our 2022 2.0 predictions piece coming as well. So please keep it locked, keep it loaded, keep it LSU Odyssey, baby. Let's go. Go Tigers.